Hey, good morning, grade 11s. We are going to continue with our procedures today. We're just going to add some arguments or some parameters to our procedures. It is very much the same, and don't get worried too much that this might be difficult. If you got the hang of writing your own procedures, this will now actually help you to better your procedure writing. I've already mentioned once the example of, me asking you to find a telephone number in a telephone book. So now you don't really know telephone books anymore, but what about your contact list on your phone? So I'm asking, can you give me the number? And then you would know how to search for a contact in your phone. That's the procedure. Open your contacts, scrolling or searching, and then returning the number. However, you will ask me, but what person do you want the number for? So I need to provide you with some extra information before you can execute that procedure of finding the telephone number. So, and that extra information is we call parameters or arguments that need to be given so that you can successfully execute the procedure. So a couple of procedures with parameters that we've already used that you are aware of. First one is the show message one. It needs the actual message that it needs to display. We have the sleep procedure that needs the extra information of how many milliseconds do I need to pause my program. And then we have also procedures with parameters as which are methods of objects. For example, we're having our rich edit, which has a lines property and then a method called add. But it also needs a parameter, the message that actually needs to be added, or the text that needs to be added to our rich edit. So we have already worked with these procedures. We are just going to write them ourselves. So there's an example that the textbook gives of a program where a user can enter marks out of 60, and then if you evaluate them, we have the name of the test, we have the percentage of the test which needs to be calculated, as well as a message. So we will write now a procedure with two parameters. So what does the procedure need in order to evaluate the test? So obviously it needs to know which test are we referring to. So it needs a string parameter, and then it needs to know the percentage in order to evaluate whether that is a pass or a fail. So let's look at the declaration of that procedure. So we have a procedure, display percentage is the name, and then we have round brackets and we have our parameters inside. So in this case, there are two. S name, that is string, and R percentage, which is real. So any parameter that we add to our procedure of later function is separated with a semicolon, as well as has the variable name and its data type. So we're declaring our variables or parameters within the declaration of the procedure. Now, this name, and I want to stress this, and this is a little bit confusing, so I want you to hear me out very, very, very closely. This S name in our percentage is just a placeholder. So it means that within my procedure that I'm writing, I'm going to use sname as the variable that I'm working for. But if I have in my program, if I call on this procedure, I don't necessarily have to declare a local variable called sname. It could be surname, and I can put surname when I call the procedure. I can say surname here, as long as it corresponds with a data type. So when I call on the procedure, what happens is this procedure receives the value, which is string, and converts it to sname, and then when I write my procedure, or when it calls it and goes through the actual content of the procedure, it will then, everywhere where it says sname, it will use whatever value you have given to the procedure. So let's look at how this works. So if our percentage is bigger or equal to 50, then red out cell attributes color green. So this changes the actual test, or the text color. And then we say, okay, sname plus our percentage, and these are the information that the procedure receives through the parameters of the procedure, and then we will either say pass or we will say fail. Okay, so calling the procedure then, so we have a learner percentage, learner mark, and I believe we could even include this. Instead of the percentage, we could actually receive the raw mark in our procedure, and then still do the calculation within our procedure to actually make it even more efficient. So you can see that this is almost the same, except receiving the mark. Okay, so our learner percentage, I learner mark divided by 60 times 100, and then we call on our display percentage procedure with our string variable. So you can see this is not sname, this is test1, but it will now receive test1 here, and everywhere where it says sname, it will replace that with test1, and then our learner percentage, it will do the same. So our percentage and our learner percentage is not the same name, but it will make the change within our procedure. And the same for the third one. Right, so there we have exactly what I've said. So general structure of the definition. So we have the procedure, the class name of the procedure, a parameter with its data type, and the second parameter with a data type, and we can have many more. In that, a procedure can have no parameters, one or many. The number of arguments the call statement contains in terms of order and data types should correspond with a list of parameters. So you can't have a procedure with 5 parameters and then when you call it only provide 4. So it has to correspond, and it has to correspond in the same order. Okay, the parameters form part of variables with local scope. So you it's not global variables. This means they only exist while the procedure is being executed. Therefore, thereafter, the parameters and the variables with local scope do not exist. That is old news to you. Okay, so today we've got a double period. I would like you to attempt to activity 3 to do number 1 as well as number 2. And that's it for today.